This whole operation is a waste of time. We need to shut it down. You know exactly what that land is worth to us, Glenn. It is not about the money, Richard.
My uncle Glenn owned a small workshop beside one of the oldest tunnels near the lake. The wealthy neighbors called it an eyesore, but Glenn always said it was there for a reason. Then Richard and Margaret arrived with a proposal that immediately made Glenn suspicious. They wanted the old tunnel sealed permanently. That evening, Glenn pulled an old blueprint from a locked filing cabinet in his workshop. The faded document showed the tunnel had been designed as part of the lake's drainage system. I had heard Glenn mention the tunnel before, but I never realized how important it was. When I saw the blueprint, I understood why he refused to let anyone seal it. Glenn explained that the tunnel was built decades ago after severe seasonal flooding damaged homes around the lake. Its purpose was to safely redirect excess water away from the hillside. Richard wasn't interested in the history. He wanted the tunnel gone because his new lakeside development would look better without it. Instead of arguing, Glenn requested a professional inspection. The engineers confirmed that the tunnel remained structurally important to the hillside drainage system. The inspection report contained one sentence that changed everything. Blocking the tunnel could interfere with the hillside's established water management route. Richard still believed money could solve the problem. The next morning, construction equipment arrived near the tunnel entrance. Richard had apparently decided the discussion was over. Glenn didn't confront the workers. Instead, he walked over with the original records proving the tunnel's drainage role. The records showed the tunnel had been documented for generations. It wasn't Glenn's private shortcut. It was part of the property's established water management infrastructure. Richard finally ordered the entrance to be blocked temporarily while he sorted out the paperwork. Glenn immediately warned him that the timing was especially bad because heavy rain was forecast. That night, the rain arrived harder than expected. Water began rushing down the mountain slopes toward the lake and surrounding properties. By morning, water had begun collecting around the hillside, where the tunnel normally helped redirect it. For the first time, Richard looked genuinely worried. The engineer explained that the tunnel was acting as a controlled drainage route. Without it, water pressure could redirect toward vulnerable parts of the hillside. Richard stared at the diagram in silence. The tunnel he considered an eyesore was actually protecting the very neighborhood he wanted to improve. The professionals recommended restoring the tunnel's proper drainage function. Once the blockage was safely removed, the old passage began carrying water exactly as the original engineers intended. Within hours, the standing water around the hillside began to recede. The old tunnel had quietly done its job for generations. At the neighborhood meeting, Richard finally admitted that he had misunderstood the tunnel. The room went completely quiet. Glenn brought an old photograph from the tunnel's construction. It showed local families and workers standing beside the entrance decades earlier. The tunnel wasn't built for one family. It was built because the entire hillside needed a safe way to manage water. Even Margaret admitted Glenn had been right from the beginning. She quietly apologized for treating the tunnel like an inconvenience instead of infrastructure. The community agreed that the tunnel should be maintained professionally instead of sealed. For the first time, everyone was working toward the same goal. A few weeks later, Glenn's old workshop became the unofficial meeting point for tunnel maintenance. The place that everyone once ignored suddenly mattered to the whole community. Richard came back alone one afternoon. This time, he wasn't there to demand anything. Richard extended his hand and admitted he had been wrong. Glenn accepted it, because protecting the community mattered more than winning an argument. The tunnel stayed open, properly maintained, and officially recognized for what it had always been. And every time I passed it, I remembered how close the neighborhood came to losing something it desperately needed. Sometimes the things people call outdated are the very things protecting them. Glenn's tunnel didn't need to be hidden. It needed to be understood. If you enjoyed this HOA story, like and subscribe for more unbelievable neighborhood stories. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from?